I am Sherry Naudine. I'm the owner of Collegiate Sports Advocate, and we are recording this tonight because I get asked this quite often. What is an advocate and what do we do in recruiting? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to give you all my slideshow. There is no secrets in what we do because, and oh, I should have put my shirt on. I have a shirt that says it's personal because this is really a personal business. Even our advocates across the country that work for us, it's very personal and we all have a why. And my why has always been helping student athletes graduate from college. And so that was the basis of how we founded CSA was helping student athletes actually navigate. So right now we started it in 2015. We have 658 committed student athletes as of February 10th, 2025. We have over 300 actually playing in college, and that's all sports. We don't have a lot in other sports because I need advocates that want to take on that sport and really dig in and be a national director for that sport. And I have two brand new national directors right now. So I'm excited about that. But it is a lot. It's a lot to dig in and dedicate and be everything for you guys. But our advocates across the country have great backgrounds. They've either played, they've either coached, or many have had student athletes come through the process and they find out what a great experience it is and they know how to help others and that's natural. You know, when somebody sees that you've had great success, they'll say, well, how did you get your kid to Kansas, and how did you get your soccer player to Central Arkansas? And I kind of sat back and thought, I'm not sure. I knew that there was a strategy behind it, even though I spent 28 years in corporate marketing and sales and telecom, right? So I didn't think that it would be such a formalized process. But what I know about life is if there is structure and there is substance to it, and there's activity and there's a give and take, things always work out. To have intention, especially if you're plotting and planning. So I'm going to give you the secret recipe to my services. Our goal is to get college coaches to see them play. And if that's not a marketing task in itself, and it's ever changing. 4 years ago, we were laughing before that virus came around. We did not do a lot of highlights. There was not a lot of visibility on Twitter. It wasn't a thing at all. What they wanted was a skill video. They wanted a much more detailed, in-depth look at what the student athlete looked like. Well, that's changed. Now you've got to be feeding them both, right? And people say, well, can we, get to highlights because it's so much easier? Still telling you, the college coaches like the skill video when it's done right and it's not a promotional video and it's really detailed on that person and their specific position and their skill set. And that takes a very artful, skilled videographer. And my son is our partner in my company, but he's also a skill video guy here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And he does travel depending on the number of people that he'll be filming. But then we have subs all over the country that support us and do it our way, right? They might have their own company, but we specifically tell them the way that we want our videos done. So we're really here to help them provide life skills that will help them be a successful student athlete in college, because when they get there, it's not so easy either. So we're going to guide you and your family through the entire student athlete process. And that's always been the basis of our promise. And somebody said one time, why don't you write a book? Well, I did write a book, but it wasn't about how to get recruited because it's ever changing. And each student athlete is different, and each student athlete's athleticism and academics is different. And then, what their wants and desires and their needs are all different. So it's this real matching type of, I call it a headhunter, almost like a corporate America type of a effect in the end. So insights in recruiting today, and this is the part hopefully a lot of you will share with your audience if you're just tuning in, if you don't mind sharing our space. And if you want to input, you can message me back here on the space that's going on right now, or you can text me, and then obviously share it when it's done. It will be a great overall presentation tonight. But insights in recruiting today, there's multiple sanctioning bodies, and most people don't understand that. They think NCAA because that's what we used to only see on TV. Well, my daughter's a head coach in D2, and we're seeing them on streaming and on TV and all kinds of things. So the visibility to all other layers, but that's still NCAA, right? There's a whole other conference that I did the podcast or this space on last Monday with Jim Gasso at NAIA, Mid America Christian. That is a whole separate organization that has, thousands of student athletes playing in their universities across the country. It's pretty amazing. Then there's also junior college. Junior college is not NCAA. It is a complete different sanctioning body. And then there is another one that most people don't ever hear about, and yet we love it. We're down here in the Bible Belt. It's the National Christian College Association, and they have a ton of schools across the country that have a different, foundation to the type of student athletes that is going to want to play there. So then finding the fit becomes a little bit more than, what some people say, and I don't want to call people out, but there's a lot of people that give free advice. Oh, just go pick your major. And I always joke here, what did you want to be when you were 15? You probably don't have a sense of what you really want to be. Some people might say they do. I've had almost 1,200 student athletes nationwide, and I can't name but a few on my hands. It's not exactly what they went after, but it might be in the same lane, but it's very different. So what we try to do is help them mature through the process. We usually get eighth graders and ninth graders at best. That's our best prime age, because then we can pivot and we can adjust and we can help them discover things and get a little bit more exposure and experience before they lock into a major. Because one of our other podcasts a couple years back, we had St. John University's academic advisor, and we had Texas State academic advisor come on, and they shared with us that there's a million different ways to get your degree. It doesn't have to be that exact title, that exact functioning, degree, because mostly what we're looking at is getting that undergraduate degree and getting a post-secondary degree. So we don't just focus as advisors to just getting, a basic degree. We're really looking at what's going to be best for them for 40 years, and everybody's route is going to be different. So finding the fit academically is not as hard as finding the fit athletically. So that's the challenge. And that's what we've done. We flipped the model and we're like, let's see what your sport says about you first. Let's go out there and test the water. Where are you in the layers of the sport? Are you a top P4 player? Are you a medium, lower P4? Are you Division I at all? Or maybe because your academics are so brilliant that you would be better off in a Division III in a private, exceptional university playing your sport and doing different, better things with your career. They all have their own flavor. They all have their own reason why that they are, a Division II school. They're more balanced. A Division III school is more focused on the academics. So there's different reasons, and then each school is different. So there's almost 1,650 schools nationwide, or approximately that, just in softball alone. And by the way, I'll customize this presentation for each sport. I actually do a truth recruiting for each sport. I give their numbers. I give their percentage of how many actually play in college compared to who are out there playing their sport as student athletes in high school. So I do customize this presentation for other sports. But understanding where your talent is, it's the college coaches that actually get to pick you. You can go out and say, people always ask me, how many emails do I need to make? You need to make a whole bunch, because you don't really know where you're going to land yet. You know what you may want, but that usually is driven more from the parents knowing what they want for the student athlete, which I'm not saying is wrong. We probably know better what our student athletes' acclimate is going to really be long term, but we kind of drive them towards things that, maybe they don't end up doing in the end. I would always say be a little bit more general, be a little bit more open until they, fine tune. It's usually the second and third year in college when they really got to fine tune their major and be very specific about what they want. But then it's the matching of the academic goals with your talent. So, man, let's go after the talent first. Let's figure out where they can play. Let's figure out, how their athleticism is developing, how their game is developing. And then we come back and start matching, college degrees and things changing along the way, right? And that way we're not pinholing ourselves in only 3 colleges in the country that have, what they call it, oceanography or ocean sciences, right? I mean, there's only a few schools that do that. We had another student athlete that was doing signing for the deaf. There's only a few that do that. Those are very specific and very difficult. And then you've limited the opportunity to play a sport because maybe that you're not their talent layer for the sport. So then you got to figure out what the college coach is looking for. The university might be wanting something, your talent might be wanting something, but what does the college coach need in making their team work? And what is the motivational fit there? And it's not normally by position. A lot of people say, oh, well, they have four pitchers that are, class of 21, and they're going to need to be replaced by the 25s. You can't really look at that. There's too many things going on and changing into it doesn't really allow you to do that. And yesterday, a group asked me, is being utilitarian better? Well, it sure helps, right? And the number one thing I tell people, if you hit, you're going to play. And then being more utilitarian is always going to give you an opportunity. We have a young lady in the SEC right now. She's a heck of a hitter. She's playing catcher and outfield because she's such a big hitter. They need her everywhere, right? So it's those types of stories that we can tell you and help guide you through and help you understand and grow. Now, pitcher, a whole nother story. Pitchers are very, very valuable. Catchers, very, very valuable, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to hit. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to play another position. And that's sometimes difficult to understand. And each coach does it different, right? So a PO today might not be a PO in college. It just depends. So you have to really, have that advocate. We were talking at the beginning, like, what is an advocate and why do you need one? This is one of the reasons why you need it, to understand all of these key decision making points. And then navigating the dollars. And people think I'm against camps. I'm not against camps. I'm actually for camps when they're right for you. Sometimes student athletes go too early, they're too young, they're not developed, they're maybe not at the right division. A D3 is probably not looking for a seventh or eighth grader now. Sure, do they want them to come to camp and have fun and get to know each other? Great. But not if you're trying to get exposure or get evaluated in the process, which you don't necessarily need to do at that age. But sometimes your talent isn't ready for the camping, but also camping isn't necessarily recruiting. Camping is evaluation. And man, some of these schools have a lot of kids show up. And I had feedback from one that said, as a pitcher, she threw two pitches and never got to scrimmage. So, you're flying across the country, going to these big fancy camps, and then, it's not what you think it's going to be. They would love it. I mean, I know the college coaches genuinely are trying to get that evaluation. They want you on campus. They want to see if you fit, but there's a different camp when they do that. And that's more towards the end of your sophomore year when you're going into your junior year, where they're taking their entire database of student athletes that they're looking at, and they're going to put you in the same camp against each other. And that comes out really, really good, but it also is an eye opener if you're not one of those three or four or five shortstops that they're looking at in the whole country. And worse, um, it doesn't mean that they're going to come for you when it's time, to have that interaction and that call. So you have to load up as many um, desired destinations on your side as they do on their side, because it gets real dicey when it gets to that time. You have to have a lot of options. And so not knowing or not being able to hear about those options until September 1st, or for Division II in the middle of June, you don't get that feedback if you're just out there doing it on your own. And don't get me wrong, I love travel ball coaches. My son's a travel ball coach. My husband's a travel ball coach. But, they usually all have full-time jobs and it's a full-time job to have a travel team in today's culture and environment, and to keep everybody together and do what's right for them too. So it's not necessarily going to be their full-time job to help you get recruited. And, they're probably not going to take a list of spreadsheets and cold call for you. And there's certain times in your career that we do that also. So understanding what the college coaches are saying or not, right? You have to read the silence. There's a lot of silence in this, and we do a lot of guessing, but we'll say, well, our experience over here has been this, and our experience over here has been that. Then navigating those dollars again for the camps, for the clinics, for the combines. How often do you get your Rapsodo done? How often do you get your, speed and agility tested? I mean, there's just a lot of variables to whether those help you or don't help you, and when they're helpful. So, how much money do you spend? I think it was last summer, every single camp, every single tournament had a combine where you had to pay extra or as part of the fee to come be part of it, and it was required. And it just sometimes it's just a little too much evaluation. You were the same last week, so how often do you need to go? But this one is always tough for me because I've always had a mantra: free has no value. I'm giving you as much free content as possible. But just because I'm giving you all this free content doesn't mean it helps you navigate the system properly, because you're going to have turns and shifts that you're not going to be able to understand from a free presentation. So I always say, listening to all the free advice only gets you so far. Then what, right? This last year, September 2nd, I had more phone calls on September 2nd than I had in the last 3 months. What did I do wrong? What happened? I was going to their camps. They knew my name. They were coming to my games. I don't understand what happened. And every year, sadly, I see student athletes quit because they're like, wow, I didn't get what I thought I was going to get. And now my parents have to pay more money and I have to go to more camps and I have to make more emails. And man, I just wish they would listen early enough, and get involved early enough. And, if you want to know my fees at the end, I'm happy to tell you. But my fees are the same no matter if you start in the 8th grade or you start in 10th grade. But when you get to your junior year, I'm not necessarily taking a lot of 2026s. I'm actually turning more down than I'm taking right now because it's a really, really tough class. And I don't want to take somebody's money and not be able to do what I can do, because I can ask a lot of questions and understand where they're at today. And sometimes it's a hole so deep that, I may not be the right person, or my other advocates be the right person to pull them out of that ditch that they're in. So understanding the journey. Where are you now? Where are you going? What is it you're trying to accomplish? To have that evaluation in itself, I think, is priceless. We help investigate the lifestyle and the commitment so that you understand what's going to be required of you. We know most of the coaches, we know most of the environment, and if not, they know we're honestly and authentically trying to make the right fit. So they're typically very, very good at getting back with us and talking us through what it is that they're seeking. And then, will the outcome of recruiting be worth the time, effort, and investment in the journey? The biggest objection I get all the time is, oh, well, we don't want to pay for a recruiting service. And I'm like, my recruiting service cost is the same as one summer dues for your travel ball team, but you're going to play for 6 years travel ball and then get to the finish line and then not have what it is that you were thinking you were going to get. And now what, right? And you spent the money chasing the camps, chasing the things that you think look good, putting your pictures all over social media, and thinking that social media gets you extra exposure instead of exposed. That's another word I use a lot. Did you get exposure or did you get exposed? Then the portal, and we can go off a whole nother session on talking about the portal and what the portal is doing today. I'm going to tell you a very strong prediction, because I am a life cycle management person who spends a lot of time watching the seasons before us, the sports before us, football before us. And thank you, Iris is saying, and I'm cheaper than everybody else out there too. By the way, my fee is way less than the other people that say they do what we do, but not even in the same thing. My services out are 3 times, 10 times more than what these other guys do. And I hate saying their names because I don't even see them as competitors, but they charge way more than I do to propose to you to do a similar thing, which is the end result of getting recruited. But the portal, life cycle management, it's going to be year to year, especially at the elite level. The top level programs, it's a money business. They are expected to win. They're expected to draw revenue to their sport. They're expected to draw in the audience, and everybody is engaged in watching it, and their job is to win. And it's not to say they're going to win at all costs or mistreat the student athletes in any way. None of that is happening. Sometimes it's tough if you got 25 roster cap and you got 9 that play and you have a couple other pitchers, you have a couple other, catchers, you might have 15 core people. So what are the other 10 going to do? They're going to jump in the portal because they didn't get to play and they didn't see their value, and they're going to get on the merry-go-round, and then they're going to go to another team reason. Maybe that position that they thought they were going to earn is just not going to, break free. God bless the girl that's hitting more than you ever could hit, right? So some of that happens naturally, and that's where the portal is good for those really elite players so that they actually will get a shot to play. I can put some names on ones I've seen, be at big programs for 2, 3 years and then transfer and have the time of their life. So it has its place, but I'm gonna tell you that it's good for the top layer talent. There was over 2,000 that are in the portal and didn't all come out. It's not so pretty at the other side because there's a lot of matching now that has to happen. You have to match your degree. Almost all of them that I know lost a semester of their education, so it's going to cost them another semester because all of their curriculum and academics didn't match up to the school that they're going to, and maybe the school that needs you to be a catcher doesn't need your degree or doesn't have your degree major. So there's a lot of things that come into play there. And it's a lot more difficult when you are transferring. I had 12 transfers this summer. They were JUCO and portal transfers. We've never had that many combined in the last 10 years. And by the way, transfers have always happened. There just wasn't this enigma going out there telling everybody how wonderful it is, because it's not so wonderful. And what I found out from a college coach the other day, they don't even give these college coaches enough information to have insight on the student athletes. They just get a name and a contact, email. They don't even tell them how many years eligibility, so they have to do all this digging. They don't tell them, where they've been, or I mean, it's a mess. But what they should do is tell you when they do recommit someplace. They should take them off the board, right? So you're not wasting the coach's time, you're not wasting these student athletes' time still trying to make the match. It's really, really difficult. I said it's like a deck of cards and you throw it on the table and you shush it around and you start flipping it over to find the two queens that match, right? That's about how difficult it is. So not having somebody that understands the business and has the relationships and can make the phone calls to the coaches. I mean, we actually do portal transfers for student athletes. We never did this before. We actually changed our contract because we do stay with our current student athletes until they graduate college. But we've had several come to us that have never been our client, pay us a small fee, and we transfer them. It's a lot of hard work in a very short time frame, but we're masters at it. So we do deal with the transfers, we do deal with the portal, and that's all somebody called an insurance plan for you guys. You guys that are my clients early and young enough, it's an insurance plan. It's also, and I'll tell you all the pitfalls, it's an insurance plan when your travel team breaks up. I have a player that's travel team has broken up 3 times in the last year. It's been heartbreaking, right? And it's not always the student athlete leaving the team. I've seen more teams breaking up and disbanding and just deserting kids that are, really out there trying to do a great thing, more so than, a kid hopping from team to team. And I'm not saying that that doesn't happen too, but it's important to have people that are connected in the sport that can help you and that can, use their network of friends to help you find the right spot. And then this one's new, but it has happened in the past. College coaches are shutting their doors. It has happened in the past. Alderson brought us shut a couple years ago. Gosh, I'm gonna blank on the name of the one that just folded in the Northeast this last year. Very high end, high academic school, very small, but they shut their doors. This season alone, Cleveland State has already announced that they'll be shutting their doors, and that's a state Division 1 school. Division 2 in Northern California, Sonoma State. It's not that they're closing the whole university. These ones are just cutting the sports, where these other two were actually, quitting being a college, right? And so, Charles, you're correct. The funding is a big issue here. Charles was giving me a response, and guys, feel free to connect with me here and tell me what you know, because this is how I learn and do what I do. Even the colleges that are losing funding are talking about the transfer portal. 100%. This is the challenge that we have is it, and it's also the guaranteed roster spots. It's not 100% sure which schools are going to get the 25, and if all schools are going to get it or all can afford to fund it. right? That's still in the court system. I think we're expecting to hear something in April on that. So stay tuned. You will hear it. My daughter is, by the way, a litigation attorney and an NLI and Title IX type of interested attorney. So she stays in it. She was my soccer player in college and a Baylor Law School litigation graduate. So that's her expertise. But she does follow the portal. She follows the transfer. She follows the law around the changes that are happening. And I don't even have the next one in my presentation. I just realized I forgot. What about the junior colleges? Now that one football player went out and challenged the courts on whether or not he had 4 years eligibility or not, right? And he won the battle, and now we're starting to see the the hangover from that, which is according to this particular judge, it was correct. He still deserved his years of eligibility. And I won't quote this because, again, I'm not an attorney, but what we saw is that that football player did win it, and then they came back and said, "Well, if you're a class of 25 and you played JUCO, you can have one more year." It sounds to me like they're piecing it together until they can come up with a better statement and have some legal eyes to it so that they can put the correct legal response out there. So that's still more changes coming for a student athlete that is going to affect current student athletes in high school today. I'm back now. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Macy. Appreciate that. I hate when I forget to shut off my incoming calls, and it's a cold call. It's not anything to do with anything important. So, anyways, why CSA? Our mission. It was founded on the commitment to stay with student athletes until you graduate college. And we create an individual recruiting plan for each student athlete. And we personalize our approach for our student athlete and at their level of play and their academics. So there's a lot to that. I also have a team plan, obviously, with my husband's program, and I do it for multiple teams. I can't afford to cut my fees for one whole team. And what you're going to find out is no matter how many people want to play in college, they all don't make the effort to play in college. And that happens when you have a big team of kids. Not all of them are targeted towards the same thing. So that becomes an issue. But our program was built on a platform using communication, time management, and accountability skills. Very important life skills that get interwoven. And I'm always happy to talk to you one on one on how those affect you during the process, and that we do have, and this one's a bingo, trusted relationships with college coaches. All you got to go do is look at our 656 student athletes committed and where they're committed to. That happened for many reasons and to many duplicate schools. There's people that come back and look at our database every year and try to figure out who's the next best one for their program. All of our advocates already talked about it, either played in college or been involved in the sport all these years or understand the process and the value to the student athletes. And that we utilize our platform of social media and mass communication to promote and create interest for our student athletes. Because again, we're trying to get student college coaches to come see you play, and then we understand the business side of it, like nobody else. There's no one else out there that is as involved in the business and knows what's happening as we do. And then you will see our CSA student athlete, or sorry, our CSA advocates at the biggest, best tournaments. There's just a few of us, but we definitely go to the biggest, best tournaments. You'll also see our student athletes wear a little CSA helmet sticker on their helmets. And the coaches love it because then they can identify it's one of ours. And it's a really, really cute thing I thought was fun. And it turned out to be a really good marketing tool. So already talked about recruiting today and what's going on with the colleges and the multiple types of sanctioning bodies, but finding your major and matching your college and going to camps and emailing and then decide or choose. I mean, that's kind of the essence that they give you, and that's not accurate at all. The college coaches need to see you play. So, where you play, who you play against, is the sorting out process that helps the college coaches understand if you're the right talent level for them. So what we've learned over the last 10 years is that right now there's approximately 1,650 colleges that play softball. Again, I can do a presentation specifically for any other sport. There's about 475,000 registered high school players. The bingo here is there's 51,000 registered travel ball teams. Not all these coaches have ever gone through the process. They might say they have, or they might belong to an organization that has. All of that is great. You need that. But having them head up your recruiting solely without, an independent or an advocate, what happens if the team folds? What happens if there's a mismatch of goals and visions for your player on the team? There's so many things that go wrong, but it's a great partnership when you have a great team and you have an independent advocate and everybody's working together. It's a real win. So, of that 475,000 registered high school players, 8,000 play. Somebody can do the math on that one. It is below the percentage that the NCAA says because there's so many student athletes out there intending to play. Then you've got the portal, the JUCO transfers, the roster limitations, the college coach changes, the college coach programs changing again. And then here's on my final slide, but I'm giving you the secret to my program. This is how we do it. This is why it works. We immediately teach them a time management training program, 168 hours in a week. When they realize they have that much time and they learn to prioritize, they learn to, decide how to communicate effectively and reducing redundancy. It's amazing what happens in their program and in their process. We teach them great communication skills. We teach them how to talk on camera, how to talk on Zoom, how to talk to a college coach when they call, how to present themselves in a visit at a camp. We actually have a camp prep training that we give them. We teach them how to email. We then hold them accountable. We have an accountability process that is the stickiness. I always tell the parents, if you're paying us, we're connecting the way we have it set up to connect, then it's going to work because you're holding me accountable as much as I'm holding the student athlete accountable. And that goes for all of our advocates. So we teach them emailing strategies, event strategies, into season calls. This is when we wrap it up and we pivot and we take them from season to season. And then we prep them for those phone calls, for visits, for offers. And then we do what we call a decision grid. And it's not to force a decision. It's not to bubble up and say, take what's on the table, but it's helping them evaluate the criteria that's going to make it a great fit or not for them. The camp training, the targeting the fit happens through that accountability process that we teach, that end of season call. And then SMART goals. Right now, we're in the middle of 4 weeks of SMART goals. We teach them specific, measurable, obtainable, reachable, targeted goals. And we stay with them until they graduate college. That's a big win. And we also teach social media strategies. You're going to see so many student athletes and families out there doing social media the way they think it would be done. I mean, I'm an ex-marketer. You would think it would be done a certain way, presenting a product to the marketplace. But this is a really interesting marketplace where you don't really have college coaches sitting on Twitter, scanning through Twitter, trying to find the next best person, because Twitter is not a targeted marketing. Even if you're tagging the coaches, which they don't always really like, they might say they do, but they really don't when it really happens. But you're also showing your hand and you're showing your direction and you're giving away a lot of information. The coaches eat it up. They're like, shoot, yeah, tag everybody, because now I know who you're targeting and you're not targeting me. There's all kinds of things that happen in there. And it's very unique to each one of you. So I teach a very conservative but very effective strategy for social media. And then individual player profiles. Obviously, we have individual player profiles. It is developed on what the college coaches want. You'll see transcripts, test scores, everything a college coach needs in order to evaluate, will this student athlete even get into my university? Why would I go invest my time and go watch them play if they can't even academically get into my college? And then the relationships, bar none. I hate to gloss over that, but the relationships, for 30 years that we've been in the sport, is what really matters. The coaches trust us. They listen to us. We're not trying to sell them somebody. We're actually having conversation and helping the evaluation process and giving information that's valuable that you can't necessarily see on the field. Our reputation of success and results is important. This is a new one that we just did in December. We're teaching a product called Branding You. We're not trying to be NIL attorneys. We're not trying to be agents for NIL. We're actually teaching them how to build their social media in hopes of being able to obtain NIL. And I've got a listener on here right now whose daughter is out there getting herself an NIL, and she's a committed athlete. We have another young lady in college that, goes out and gets NIL deals with local eateries because she's at a major university and they want to see the softball team come in. And I mean, it's just amazing these opportunities these young ladies have, but they've got to build up that social media presence in order for it to be valuable. And so we just rolled that out in December, and you would think all of our committed kids would be all over it, but they didn't really get it. It's our kids that are coming up that aren't committed yet that see it. They get it, right? Because all the NIL does not come directly from the university. It comes a lot from your own hustle and your own representation of yourself and what you're offering them with your name, image, and likeness. And then we have tons of partners. We have partners that help with SAT and ACT, but we have a lot of counsel. We give you a lot of counsel about when to take it, why to take it. We have a scholarship partner. We have tons of mindset mental coaches that do different things. Remote trainers, if you don't live in an area where you can get to a gym very much, we have a relationship with Sierra Romero, who I had the pleasure of coaching when she was in 10 and under. It's so amazing where these dynamic young ladies are today. And then just that personal relationship, we know the athletes. We also give an arm care program, and we do yoga with them in December every year. So lots of different things that I'm so thankful that you guys joined on tonight and are listening and allowing me to record this and share with others, because so many people ask me, what do we do and what's an advocate and why do I need an advocate, and what does it mean for me? And yet, it's so different and it's so unique for each person. So hopefully you see that I've put my slides on the space here today. I would love it if you guys would share it with your friends and family and put your own personal testimonies on it, because many of you are my clients and friends and fans of CSA, and I'm just honored. I'm touched by that you spend the time doing that. So thank you so much for doing that. Follow our Twitter, follow our TikTok. We got thrown off TikTok today, but Coach Margot will be back. It was not something she intended to do, but we love her and what she brings to the sport over on TikTok. So I do partner with her on some shows there too, and Coach Devin and J Mart. So